the Bills are better than they played in that game. That's what was so frustrating. That's why that one feels like it's a lost opportunity. I thought they played, I won't say poorly, but not well, not great.
We'll start with this question from Robin.
So there's still a damn good defense. I have zero problem with them bringing this guy in.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus channel presented by Connors and Ferris. Mike Catalana, Dan Fates is on an off day. I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We are getting into our first postseason You Ask, We Answer presented by Stellar Roofing, Windows, and Siding. A lot of questions, Mike. A lot of people wondering. We're going to get into it. The season, the loss, Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, where do they go from here? All of that. But first, I want to start with this question. I feel like it's kind of been a popular topic. This is from Sia and Louvre 12. Why does this loss hurt so much? I should be used to it by now, but this one is particularly tough to take.
I get it. And I would think it's a combination of two things. One, it's to the same team. And two, they are so close. Yeah. And I understand the frustration of the loss. This isn't good enough. That isn't good enough. It's all those things. But the reality is it's a play or two. Yeah. You know, everybody's made the comparisons to the 4 Super Bowl losses. Which one hurt the most? Well, there's no question which one hurt the most. The first one, because it was so disappointing and it was this close, right? They got handled in the other 3. The Bills don't get handled. They lose in excruciating ways. And the difference is, other than, I would say, the 13 seconds game was more dramatic. You were on the field for it, both the way they tied it and won it and everything. These were more paper cuts. It was more methodical on the Chiefs side, and just the Bills being the younger brother that couldn't get there. And they're so close. I'm just going to say this now because it's a take I have on this. There is a lot of issues that the Bills need to fix, even a little bit. Special teams, the defense, coaching, all that stuff to get over the hump. But for 2 straight years, the ball's been in Josh Allen and the offense's hands, down by 3 points, 1 at home, 1 on the road. And neither time did they come through. I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, blaming Josh Allen. He is the reason they're there. I think there's things they need to do to help him. That's Joe Brady, Sean McDermott, that's Brandon Beane, that's the players on the team. But do you agree with me, Jenna, if I say, would you sign up for that right now? Down late, if that's the circumstance, it'd be better to be up by 20. I know you can't just say it. You're in it with the Chiefs again, and Josh has the ball to win it. There's your 2 comparisons. Either you're up 3 and Mahomes has it, or you're down 3 and Josh has it. I'll take my chances with Josh, but 2 years in a row, they haven't been able to do it.
I think this loss hurts so much because it's just been them. It's been the Chiefs, and it's been the Chiefs in such dramatic ways, such painful ways. And like you said, this time was the paper cuts of the Chiefs capitalizing on big moments when they needed to. And the Bills fought and clawed their way back in that game. They obviously tied it up, and it was like, it still wasn't good enough. And I think for a team that has had as much success as the Bills have had, and the lofty expectations and Josh being unreal and the team outperforming what people thought they would be, it just still comes down to that one person, that one team that you can't get by. And I think that's why it's so disheartening, is because, look, you didn't have it when you guys were ahead of schedule. You didn't have it when it was a dramatic loss. You didn't have it when you were at home against them, something you've been trying to all season. And you didn't have it against them when even the pressure was a little bit lighter because no one expected you to be there. And it's like all these different ways leading up to the game, you felt like maybe this would be different, but the result is still the same. And I think, look, the Chiefs are annoying. They're smug, in my opinion, all these things. but they know how to execute when they need to. And I think that comes from the confidence of being there and doing it all and having it work out in their favor and knowing that they have the supreme trust that they can get it done. And so I understand why fans are feeling the way they are right now. But it is still frustrating because this one loss, it's not like there's one player or one thing you can blame, but there are definitely things that make me question like this offseason of like, there are some things that need to be different and we can get into all of that.
Yeah. I was going to say about narratives. So let's just pretend for a second it's a different world and we're going to the Super Bowl because Kincaid caught the ball, Josh drove him down the field, and they scored.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the Bills defense now. Bills win the game. And I'd say they held the Chiefs to 11 points in the second half. They got 2 punts.
Yeah.
Milano made a huge sack and stopped Mahomes, forced him out of field goal range. Jordan Phillips came up with a sack on the drive and made them kick a field goal late in the game. And then the Bills won it. I say there's narratives because all that would have been true because the offense came through at the end. Again, I am not blaming the offense. I am saying it all goes hand in hand.
Yes.
Like, you know, that's why I say it's easy to just say this needs to be better. I think the defense needs to be a lot better. And there's some other questions I think we'll have that we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But it's not so simple as offense is great. The defense stinks. Defense needs to be way better.
Yeah, I think that to me is a very lazy take.
Yeah.
Because and I get it. People are mad and they're frustrated and they're like, "Oh my god, the Chiefs didn't score 30 points all season and they scored it against the Bills." It's like, yeah, that did happen. But we can get into all of it.
Yes.
All right, you had some questions though.
Well, this one sort of goes through it. It's like Steve says 4 playoff losses to the Chiefs. And he refers to obviously the AFC Championship game when they gave up 38 and then 42, 27, and 32. He's like, is his defense just not good enough? And it hasn't been good enough. But I want to focus on the last 3 games. And you even mentioned it. They were not ready for primetime players when they lost that AFC Championship game. You said they're ahead of schedule. They were, and they were not good. I'm going to go by this. I'm going to say regulation time against the Chiefs because we have to be fair in terms of matching up what they did because I'm going to compare the Bills to the Chiefs. Both teams scored 36 in that game. Chiefs won the toss, went down, scored a touchdown. Failure of the defense, but Josh and the offense didn't get the ball back. And then the other games were 27-24 and 32-29. So over the last 3 games, the Bills have given up 95 points. The Chiefs have given up 89. I have people telling me, change the defense, fire Sean, whatever it is. And then I have people telling me the coordinator on the Chiefs should be in the Hall of Fame. Now, he's had other big moments and he's won the Super Bowl. It's been great. Yeah. But my point is, it's not so simple. It's these games have been mega tight. I think, to your point, the difference is not even in the numbers as much. It's in the moments. But this is why I said to you, the Bills had a couple of defensive moments. As flawed as they are, they had a few that would have been like, now we have a chance. And they didn't come through. Team effort. Special teams stink.
Yeah, stink. I expect.
But I think there is issues with the offense, not to the extent of the defense, but there's issues with the offense to help Josh Allen that need to be addressed that would make those defensive plays so much bigger because Josh took him down the field for a touchdown to win the game.
Yeah, I hear you. I think too, it's like some of the personnel questions that I would have about, and that like obviously feeds into Brandon Beane and just the construction of this roster.
Yeah, Scotty's question is Brandon Beane overrated as a GM? Outside of Josh Allen, he has not done well with the top picks. So what do you think?
I understand why. Specifically, I want to focus on the first round
Mhm.
because I feel like, and this actually feeds into a question from at Critter 852004. And he's like, does Beane get heat for his terrible drafting in the first round? Obviously, we'll start 2019 Ed Oliver, 2020 AJ Epinesa. Well, that was the
It was second round. Yeah.
second round, but the first pick. 2021 Greg Rousseau. 2022 traded up to get Kyer Elam. 2023 traded up to get Dalton Kincaid. 2024 traded back with the Chiefs. They got Keon Coleman. And I'm still so irritated by that trade with the Chiefs because you knew. I don't know. Frankly, I don't know if it's arrogance to think that you know better, or I don't think Brandon Beane's stupid, but I just feel like there's the team that has been your demise in the playoffs so many times. The Chiefs are elite. We know that. Like they're going for their third straight Super Bowl title. And they call you and you're like, well, we don't really see the value and we traded back. And it's like, I think it's childish to not expect a player to succeed in the Chiefs organization. And I don't want to give them the opportunity to do that. And honestly, Keon Coleman, I know he's just coming off his first season, but there's a lot left to be desired from his play. And I just think that it's a very frustrating decision because you look at the other first round draft picks, Dalton Kincaid. I know people are like, oh, sophomore slump. I'm like, you have to excel in year one as a freshman to have a sophomore slump. We have not seen that. Kyer Elam,
Bust.
horrendous in that game. And
Yeah.
you could say, oh, you didn't think, Christian Benford got hurt. That is all true, but like you still made the decision on all of those guys. I think he does deserve to get heat, and I think he will get heat. Sometimes I think people hone in so much on Sean McDermott because we see him so much or more often. He's making such ground level decisions that it's easy to criticize. But when you draw and zoom out, you're like, well, there needs to be some heat that goes with the decision making of the players on this roster too.
Yeah. When you talk about that trade, you asked me something, I think when we were talking about it, the idea, I feel like we should issue a statement on the way we feel about the Xavier Worthy trade. Like this is the official Buffalo Plus statement because we were
And
all
we've
in agreement.
always felt like that. We felt
We've
like that on
always felt it.
draft night.
That's what I'm saying is, and it's like, because then I'll have people respond to me and I want to say, look at the document. Well, the Bills wouldn't have picked Worthy. I'm not even saying Worthy would have been a great choice for the Bills. If they loved Keon, take him there. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, I wanted Brian Thomas, but they didn't ask me. But it's the idea of it. And you said when we were talking, or I asked you this maybe, if the same circumstance happened again this year, would you make the move with the Chiefs?
I don't think you would. I wouldn't.
Because
I wouldn't have made it in the beginning, but also
our
I don't
point
know.
was if the Chiefs want him that badly that they want to trade up with you,
Then you don't want him to get that. You don't want them to get that guy.
and if they do, damn it, let somebody else make the deal with him. You're so
Exactly.
excited to get this extra draft pick and get Dwayne Carter, and maybe he'll be good. But
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy hurt you in the biggest game of the year. And I'm not saying they would. Knowing them, they have another guy out there. Who knows who it is? But Worthy hurt you and
Yeah.
changed the way you play defense. I just did not. It's almost like you did it in a vacuum. Like you just said,
If you made this trade in a vacuum, it makes total sense because you're like, well, you got a good player out of it. You
right.
got some extra draft stock, all this stuff. But it's like this isn't a vacuum. This is a team that has perpetually been the thorn in your side. This is
Yes,
a
they have
team.
ruined everything for the Bills.
Yes, and I can't. And we are in a business that is narrative driven. If they were to have traded back with, I can't even remember who was the pick behind the Bills.
I think it was Dallas.
It doesn't even matter. Dallas was around them, I know.
Yeah.
They were to trade with Dallas, and it doesn't matter. It does not matter. But because it's the team that has been so destructive to your hopes and dreams, And you're right. They had no idea they were picking Xavier Worthy, but either way, they knew they wanted a guy
Yeah.
that fit them so well that they were going to trade up and do it. And that guy burned you in his rookie season.
Yeah. And that's where, when you talk about that, is overrated. I think Beane in total has done an outstanding job with the Bills because we know where they were and where they are now.
Absolutely.
And he's had some really good picks. But on the downside, when you look at the defensive line, I think AJ's a really good player. And I think Rousseau is going to be here because I think they're going to sign
I
him.
think they're going to pay
Ed's a
Greg.
good player too.
I think Ed is
But
a Ed is a
yeah,
good player. But in the recent stretch, just particularly that first round, and the Kyer and Dalton you traded up for.
yeah,
It's
yes.
just I
And
understand
in the
why people
Kyer, I'm sorry, and in the Kyer year, the Chiefs traded ahead of you and got their
Trent
cornerback.
McDuffie, yeah.
Yeah, who's a
I
superstar.
mean, look, you got Christian Benford that draft, who's a 6th-round player that has been phenomenal for you. So you lucked out because
You could have had both. You could have had
you
somebody in the
could have
first round, right?
you absolutely could have had both.
Yeah,
And also, I think it's a little bit jarring that last year they only drafted one wide receiver.
yeah,
You only drafted one wide receiver in a draft where we talked about them maybe taking 2 or 3.
yeah.
Again,
And
I am not a general manager of a football team, but there's some decision making where I question where I'm like, what is the thought process behind that? Because I don't really follow how you come to that conclusion.
so you guys know I follow the Eagles, always have, and they made one of the historically worst decisions in recent NFL history when they had a draft pick. It was actually the Bills pick because it was the trade with the Vikings to get Stephon Diggs. It went to the Vikings, and that pick was after the Eagles. And the Eagles took Jalen Rager, wide
Mhm.
receiver. And then the Vikings turn around and take Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Now, the Eagles didn't make a deal. They didn't do anything stupid. They didn't trade away the pick. They just took a guy who can't play and left on the table one of the great receivers of recent times. And it was so embarrassing because it's like, this wasn't even something you argue. So what'd they end up doing? They went and made a big trade, got A.J. Brown, and they traded up in the draft and got Devontae Smith because he realized that was dumb.
Yeah.
And it failed. And they got rid of Rager and they did that. And I think I got to give Brandon Beane this. I think they made the right move to trade Diggs when they did because this team
Yes.
was
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. I agree.
And Shakir's been a really good pick and he's
Yeah.
going to get better and better, I think. But he's got
Agreed.
another move to make. And to your point, they need with a little more volume early. Or the first few
Yeah.
rounds on
I'm
wide
not
receivers. Yeah.
I'm not saying Brandon Beane is horrendous at the draft and like I'm just saying I think it needs to be an honest discussion about being critical of some of the choices that the team has made and where that has left them.
Yeah.
Because
Now you hope these other guys, right? Cole Bishop was a relatively high draft pick.
yeah.
He's young. Great experience for him out there. He'll get better. That'll be
Mhm.
good. Benford, I mean, they do have some players, but they got a lot of work to do on that defense. They have
There
spent
are
a
players on
fortune.
this roster.
Yes. They have spent a fortune and a lot of draft picks on the D line, and it's still
Mhm.
not hugely impactful. It's good. It's a
Yeah.
good D line. Doesn't scare anybody. Hasn't scared anybody. And they had a Boogie Basham pick in there. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Wow. I forgot
And
about that.
the Von at the time, and this is what scares me sometimes when I see people,
Mhm.
like Miles Garrett is unbelievable. They want to give up a ton for those guys. And Miles Garrett is really good. I
Yeah.
mean, really good.
Yeah.
And it might work out great. Von was a little older and it was
Mhm.
great for a while, but you have to own that. You made a big deal, spent a lot of money for an older player, and he played great till he got hurt.
Yeah.
And then since that point,
Yeah.
yeah. So that ends up being a bad signing too. So yeah, there are issues there. And the rest of the coaching staff and players that
Mhm.
all, the other night, like I had somebody doesn't follow the Bills all that much. And they're like, what was that guy doing out there on defense for the Bills? Talking about Elam, because they were talking on the broadcast. They're going after him.
Yeah.
So, and that was a first round pick. So,
Do you feel like I'm curious why they didn't go to Ingram or like what they were thinking?
and the thing is, they also went more man then because Elam's more comfortable in man.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
just I don't see it. And I don't think he's going to be around. I said about Vaughn, I don't think Vaughn's going to be around. Like these
Yeah.
are all moves they're going to make. And I know Beane had to clean up some stuff and all and do it. And I
Yeah.
have faith that he can do it, but I'd like to see it be a little better than it's been.
Yeah, I have faith in Brandon Beane as well. I think that I guess I get a little bit defensive when people hate on Sean McDermott when I think sometimes like Brandon Beane makes some very puzzling decisions and I feel
We
like a
get
lot
the
of
results of Sean's right away.
Yeah,
Why did he punt?
exactly.
They didn't do this. They didn't do
Yeah.
that. And that's fair. That's what the job he signed
Yeah,
up for.
absolutely. I'm not saying that that's not
Right.
like that doesn't deserve to be criticized. I'm just saying there are also times though where I'm like, why did you make this trade? Why did you make this move? Or like, obviously they wouldn't have drafted these players. Like they wouldn't have drafted Kyer if they knew. But like, where is there a disconnect in the process? Because in the first round in particular, as of late, you have really struggled to have a guy that makes an impact on your roster. And that's usually the spot where you can find that type of player.
Yeah. Yes. By the way, a wise person once said two things can be true at the same time.
Exactly. That's the real quick aside. That's what pisses me off about the national media, though. It's either all or nothing, and I cannot stand that.
By the way, speaking of that, you guys are going to read some stuff if you go on social media. There's one guy does a lot of analytics, and he is after Sean. Sean should be fired. They should replace him with Steve Spagnuolo and all that kind of stuff. Just there's some personal axes to grind in the world of media, just like every other place.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Sean doesn't deserve criticism because we all know that goes with it.
Mhm.
But sometimes it's personal stuff or business stuff that gets in the way there. And then you know where that's coming from. So
All right. I want to go to our next question at Andrew Welford 8781. I do not agree with the narrative that this year was a failure, considering that many projected that the Bills were not supposed to win the division, let alone be in the AFC title game. Do you feel that this team over or underachieved for this season based on what you expected and what you thought of in the game?
that's a really good question. I think they overachieved from what they looked like to start the year. But as we said that night, at that point, it doesn't matter because they turned out to be much better. So they elevated themselves. What frustrates me in the game, and we had some comments on our video, is Chiefs fans, at least some, like to jump in there and tell us like that
So
we were
crazy.
sitting there saying the better team didn't win. No, no, no. They misunderstood what we were saying. The Bills are better than they played in that game. That's what was so frustrating. That's why that one feels like it's a lost opportunity. I thought they played, I won't say poorly, but not well, not great. And
Yeah.
that's what's frustrating. They made it to the AFC Championship game and had every chance to beat the Chiefs in Kansas City.
That
And
felt
they
like their
just,
C plus game.
yeah. And that's what was frustrating. So they overachieved for the season. But
Mhm.
once we hit a certain point, you knew they were good. And they won the division going away. You
Yeah.
know, they blew out Denver. They beat a tough Baltimore team. Like, no, no, no. It doesn't matter. Like they're there. So, I mean, when the Eagles play the Chiefs on Sunday, a week from Sunday, it's like even though there was all these questions at the beginning of the year and they started to nobody cares about that now. They won what,
Yeah.
16 games. You're in the Super Bowl. Like go win it. If you don't win it, it's a disappointment. I'm
Yeah.
disappointed they didn't win because I don't think they played particularly well. And they still goes back to the first question. And they still could have won the game, which is why it hurts so much because they
Yeah.
could have played so much better.
I agree. Do you have any more questions?
I was trying to look to see.
I have more, but I just want to
Yeah,
see if
go ahead. You go ahead.
okay. All right. Oh, hold on. Maybe hold on, I accidentally hold please.
Yeah.
Okay, from M Shane 327. How would you rank the following free agents from least to most important to retain? Amari Cooper, Rasul Douglas, DeMar Hamlin, Matt Collins, Ty Johnson. That's 5.
Okay. So the most important to keep. So it's funny you say it that way because
It's a
I
good
don't think
question.
it is a very good question. I don't think they're going to have to like break the bank for Mac. I think he'll want to be back.
I
I think it's
agree.
one of those circumstances. Mac's done enough in this league where he's that guy, right? He likes being in the league. I think he likes the vibe of the place, and I think he'd want to come back.
Yeah.
Now, if they don't sign him, does that disrupt the whole team? No. I think that's
No,
going to be, to me, that's like the easiest one to bring back in that case.
I agree.
Most important to bring back in that group, I don't think Amari's coming back.
I don't think Amari's coming back.
I think Rasul is very interesting. The position is very important.
That to me is what gives me pause.
I think they might want more speed at that position.
That's
I think
fair.
that is something that more in the whole secondary, they need to be a little more athletic. DeMar, good player.
I was gonna say, I could see DeMar either staying or going.
If
I don't
somebody
think he
wants to pay him, I wouldn't be like he's a nice player. To me,
Yeah.
he's a backup, but he's a nice player. And I love Ty Johnson.
I think they love Ty Johnson. I think they
Yeah.
love Ty Johnson and they love Matt Collins. And I
The
think
shame
everyone
for
else
the shame for Ty is running backs don't usually get paid,
Yeah.
and he's not been in a position to show he can be a number one guy.
Yeah.
So he's not going to get paid a lot wherever he goes.
Correct.
And they do have James Cook, and
Mhm.
they do have Ray Davis. So there is guys on this roster, but his value to them, and it may not be in big numbers, but we're together on this. I
Yeah.
love him. I want to see him back. I think he'd have competition for that role, third down
Mhm.
back. It's good in protection, all those things.
Yeah.
I think he should be more of a priority. So I would go Ty, Mac, Rasul if you want to keep them that way, but I don't know if they do. DeMar, Amari.
I agree with that. The only reason I think maybe Rasul is higher up that list for them, it just depends on their plans for that position.
Yes.
Not really sure. Will we get more of an update on Christian Benford? We'll be in Orchard Park this week.
Yeah,
So
I
maybe
mean,
we'll know. But
I saw him, when I walked in the locker room. I mean, the guy and he had concussions back-to-back weeks. I don't know how he's feeling. I mean, maybe, yes, Sean maybe be telling us that. Hopefully he's good. I would tell you this, if they would have won, I don't think he was playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Or
But
I would have been shocked if
hopefully
he
he's
was.
okay. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I want them to bring back Mac for sure.
Yeah.
I think he has, well, obviously he's outperformed any expectations that we put on him going into the season, but I think he brings that edge and that attitude that I think this team needs and feeds off of.
And the position he plays in that role allows him to contribute in the game as a special teamer, get snaps on the field. Like, it's not like, even like the running back spot is tough because there's one on the field at a time, right? It's different in that way. It's like almost like being a rotational defensive lineman. Like, you can get on the field and make a play, but you can also play teams. You can do other things. So, hey, I want Mac as one of the 5 guys on the roster.
I do too, because if he's your baseline, like 5th wide receiver, think about how comfortable and confident you are in that guy because you've seen him make huge plays throughout the season.
Yeah, he has. It's been
I
great.
almost swore. That touchdown catch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I have more faith in him than Amari and more faith in him than Keon. No question.
1,000%. I don't know I mean, there's not really a ton of options for Keon, but I don't know, man.
Well, he needs a big
I don't
off
love the
season.
body language either.
He needs a big off season. He needs to realize that in this league, you got to have that route tree. You got to be good at it. He's a physically talented player, but there are things he needs to do. He doesn't have speed. NFL speed. He doesn't have speed. He doesn't get the separation, but there are ways to take what he is good at and just get better and better at it in his routes, the way he does his cuts. There are so
Yeah.
many things when you watch the best guys that aren't the fastest, the tallest, strongest, all those things. If he puts in the work, I think he can be a much better player.
I
But it's going to
agree.
take
I just
that. Some guys just walk out on the field and they're fast, they're tall, they're whatever, and then they get
yeah.
better and they become superstars. I think he's got to, I'm sure they have a plan for him in the offseason now that
Mhm.
he's played a year, but let's see how he comes back.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, because
I
it
think you
was,
can have a plan, but it's also up to a player. That's
oh, 1,000%. He and Kincaid, because
Mhm.
not just the play and the drop or the non-catch, whatever you want to say. Um, yeah, he needs to be, they thought he was going to be highly impactful in the offense.
Mhm.
And the offense was
Wait,
doing pretty
which
well.
player are we talking about? I just wanna make
Kincaid.
okay, I wasn't sure if we were talking about Keon, that's why.
No, I think Kincaid, they believed in year two.
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't see it this year. He had injuries. And I think Dawson mentioned that yesterday. He's
Yeah,
dealing with a knee. Understandable.
but
Get
a knee is
healthy.
not your hands.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
You're
They
right. He's
drafted
got to
him
catch the ball.
as a, like, essentially a wide receiver slash tight end. If you were to base him on the fact of him being a receiver, he has been a bust.
Well, he certainly hasn't been a difference maker. And,
Yeah.
Dawson is a more dependable player at tight end.
Yes.
All right.
1,000 and I'm
And
not saying he can't get there, but I'm just saying it's okay to say he has not lived up to what we thought.
and
And that's why I get frustrated because 'cause I'm
I'm
just
gonna
like,
say something that I know you agree with because we've talked about it, and I want people to comment here if you've stayed to the end of the video. I think he took accountability for not catching the ball.
I don't think he did.
Okay. I was gonna give him, he said, I think he phrased it as, "It sucks that I wasn't able to make the catch at the end." I know it's semantics, I know it's words. I would have liked to have heard him say, even if sometimes you go over the top, I would have
That's
liked to hear
not
him
a
say,
leader to me.
I would have liked to hear him say, "I need to make that catch for Josh and my teammates. I needed to make that
That
catch."
is what a leader does. That is why I don't know if he can make the growth that we expect him to make because I feel like you have to hold yourself to a certain standard.
And it was
Making
not
mistakes
easy. Yes,
making mistakes sucks.
right.
No one likes to make mistakes, but the way I base a person in my eyes is, can you say, "I messed up. I need to be better. I will learn for this. I let my teammates down."
Yeah,
That to me says there's the maturity of like, okay, I believe that. I just and you hear Josh say all of the
all
time,
the time.
"I didn't play well enough for my teammates. I let them
And
down."
that guy
It
does
hurts.
everything.
Exactly. So why can't someone else who you're right. I'm not saying that was the easiest play in the world, but I know if that was me, I'd be like, I'm gutted. I let down my team.
And let my teammate say
Exactly. Let
there was,
Dawson Knox be like,
yes.
it's not on you, man. We're gonna make sure that you know that.
And
That to me
we
though, that says so much about a person if they cannot admit or I guess he did say like, I don't even remember exactly, but I just and he's young and it's right after the game. I know he's upset, but I just wish that right then and there in that moment, there was a thought to say, like, I needed to be better and I wasn't.
yeah.
Because
And yeah.
I respect that.
Yeah.
I'm getting heated. I was just thinking about that. Like, nobody likes making like errors. No one likes fumbling the ball. Like, no
And
one likes,
and he did
in
not lose the game.
metaphorical ways.
Yeah.
No, he did not.
Because
He did
they
not.
screwed up the protection on the last play and there was mistakes through the game. It's just what happens in a game. But it was,
Yeah.
hey, Mark Andrews didn't play defense for the Ravens, and that was an easier catch. And Mark
Yeah.
Andrews has
Yes.
been a very good player for that franchise.
Yeah.
That dude was gutted.
Yeah.
He knew he blew it at the end for his team, at least a chance.
Mhm.
I don't know. I know sometimes people are like, oh, you media people, you want everybody. I would think in the room it would play well. I don't.
I would
I'm
want my
sure.
toddler if I had a kid and they like not a toddler, but like if I had a, I don't
Hey, let's be honest. I'm not joking around to say this. You want me to say it, and you want Dan to say it if we
yeah,
screw up
and I would
something,
want you guys to want me to say it if I
and
screwed
we
up.
do because you
And we
say it, and it's
do.
like I screwed up, and then you go,
I'm
"That's
really
cool."
sorry. I
Yeah.
messed up. And like we have all done that because
Yep.
that's what you do when you are a team. When you say, "I let you guys down and I am sorry."
Yeah.
I just wish there was that.
That was me in LA. Had a
Or like
bad day in LA.
I've unfortunately let you guys down before.
Yeah, that
Like
happens all the time. We're used to.
but you know what I mean? Like it's a bad feeling.
Yes.
I'm really struggling with this, but
This
I
is,
just
we
wish
can
there was
see.
the
Yeah.
I wish it was just undeniably clear that he took accountability and responsibility. And you're right. That play, like that would have been a really nice play to make. That didn't lose them the game. It wasn't like the Mark Andrews catch or drop, I should say.
Right.
But regardless of that, I think when you look at your quarterback taking all that heat and saying he needs to be better and all that stuff, that is the way to lead and to hold yourself accountable, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I wonder if people take a step back and look at it differently in a private moment, and maybe they have other conversations. You were right. And it is a
Yeah.
setting after a game. We don't talk to him a lot. Um,
No. Which is
so
fine. Like if they don't
I'm
want to
not
talk to us,
crushing him that it's the worst thing I've ever seen. I just would like to see it because it's a guy they've invested in and
Mhm.
he needs to be better next year. There's no
Yeah.
question. And I'm sure I would think he would think that he needs to be a lot better next year. So we'll see. All right. It's a little bit
That's
of a
why
venting
okay,
session.
real quick though, that's
Yep.
why I get worried though.
Yeah.
If you can't take personal response, like I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Like the story is still yet to be written, but
Yep. Well, it stems from 17. He's the worker. He's accountable.
Mhm.
He's the guy. Watch that guy. Listen to that guy.
Let us know your opinions in the
Yeah.
comments because I'm
Yep.
curious how people think. If they're like, it's okay.
And maybe the people think we're parsing words and he did say it, whatever. Okay, that's fine. And maybe he feels that way. Maybe he sat down and said to Josh, I'm sorry, I screwed up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
Not in the building.
on the building. All right.
All right. It's got not like heated, but like I think
This
we're
whole week's going
all
to be this way. We're going to go
oh
up there. We're going to talk to Sean. We're going to talk to
yeah.
Brandon Beane, and we're going to podcast where we're going to let you guys vent too.
Yeah.
Say, whatever, vent
I'm just
away.
Yeah, I'm just sad. And
Yep.
like it's funny. Everyone's like, "How's your birthday week?" Like, "Happy birthday." And it's like, "Yeah, okay." It's like I wish the birthday gift was like going to New Orleans and covering the bills in the Super Bowl, but maybe next year. All right. For Mike Catalana, who's distracted, and Jenna Cottrell, Dan Fates with a veteran day off. We'll catch you next time.
Hold
What?
on. I was just making sure it wasn't today.
No. It's Lunar New Year, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. I'm gonna post this tonight.
Yes.
Okay. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Dan's not here. He deserves a Veterans Day off. For Mike, myself, thank you so much for watching. You Ask, We Answer, presented by Stellar Roofing, Windows, and Siding. We will catch you next time here on the Buffalo Plus channel, presented by Connors and Ferris. We'll be back in Orchard Park this week as Sean McDermott. Brandon Beane is set to speak at some point. We'll have our podcast. We'll have plenty more coverage as we continue forever covering the Bills. All right. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time here on the Buffalo Plus channel. We'll start with this question from Robin.
So there's still a damn good defense. I have zero problem with them bringing this guy in.